Running the bases with small businesses. I'm Randy Rohde, and I have a passion to work with small businesses, and I love baseball. So I thought, hey, let's bring them together. So every episode, I sit down with local entrepreneurs, business builders, and small business owners to talk about their wins and whiffs, their tools of the trade, and to give actionable tips to other business managers. We'll cover the bases with entrepreneurship, operations, sales, digital marketing, innovation, plus a little fun baseball talk. Thanks for joining us today. Settle in, grab your Cracker Jacks, and you know what they say, play ball! Okay, time for another step up to the plate. Love that music. That's always fun stuff. Hey, pretty excited to have you guys with us today. And we have got a great guest, Gary Mincer from Broadcast Digital Growth Company, which is a very unique and very interesting concept for a business. Gary, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Hey, Broadcast Digital Growth Company. What is that? What is it that you do?
Well, what we do, we are a broadcasters only white label digital marketing agency. And our sole mission is growing revenue for broadcasters.
Nice. So
very specialized, and it draws upon the experience that I had in my career.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask a kind of a dumb question, but don't they have like salespeople out doing that stuff?
They do. They have salespeople that... Well, broadcasting has been a business where 90+% of their business comes from their own spots, commercial airtime. And as things have evolved in media rapidly, particularly the last 10, 15 years, that model is becoming increasingly difficult for broadcasters to grow their business by the old model. So this company is designed to help them grow their business through the ability to provide expertise and offer their clients non-proprietary digital services.
Okay. So this is very unique, very niche serving.
Right. My only clientele are broadcasters.
Okay. So I want to dig deeper into that, but I also, because I think it's relevant, especially for our discussion, why don't you tell us about your specific background? You know, what is your background and how did you get kind of to this place today?
I had a 30+ year career in the radio business, and I started in the early 80s. I went to Ohio University, and I was a broadcast management major. Got into radio sales, and I was in sales in Dayton and Columbus, and sales management in Columbus and Houston, Texas, and then Cleveland, and then eventually moved into the role as market president and then region president for iHeartMedia, which is the largest broadcaster in the United States. So I was the region president for Cleveland and Northern Ohio.
Okay. So you've been all over the place. And I'm going to give a little plug here as well. Pretty excited because we just got picked up on iHeartRadio, the podcast did.
Oh, great.
So we're pretty excited to be on the largest broadcast media channel. So you've been all around the country and doing different capacities. I'm assuming so in sales, direct sales, and then at some point you moved into management of a team and greater responsibilities, I'm sure, as you kind of moved around the country. So now you've got this very unique concept or solution that you're providing. I guess kind of walk through, how did you develop, or maybe even step back a second even, how did you recognize that there was a need? And then how did you begin to tackle the idea of the solution that you're providing?
Well, I recognized the lead because I was in that business, and I knew, on a day-to-day basis how, revenue was and how cash flow was and what the media landscape looked like. And I left radio nearly 3 years ago in late 17. Right before I left, actually, iHeart, the company I worked for, had engaged a company to begin to essentially do what I'm offering now, which is allowing their salespeople who had traditionally been selling their own commercial airtime, their own websites, and streaming, podcasts, things like that. That was owned by iHeart, but our salespeople didn't have an opportunity to do like the newspapers do. The newspapers, when they found out that they were in trouble as a medium, I should say, they branched out and got into the digital. So a large percentage of the print medium and the larger broadcast companies and the fastest growing segment is what they sell and offer their clients that is not owned by them necessarily. It's not their own airtime.
Interesting. All right.
And that made a big difference in our business because for one thing, it it's a much larger pool.
Right.
The digital advertising expenditures in the U.S. are north of $130 million a year. Radio expenditures, the radio business, the billing for radio business is about $13 billion. So it's 10 times the number in that digital pool, which is where they're going.
Right. So a much bigger pool, revenue pool for the broadcasters to tap into. Somebody like you comes along with your business and say, hey, let me help you get there.
Right. And it's the other thing that it provides is data analytics, which is something that the radio industry doesn't have. I mean, they have for years, their research has been primarily ratings, the rating system, which is very antiquated. It's not real. Like if you click on something on a digital site, somebody knows you clicked on it. Mm-hmm. You don't know exactly when you spend money in the radio business. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what your return on investment is if you're just using ratings.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that stuff when they say like, hey, we have a 4.3 market share or something like that, some arbitrary number it seems like, but it's like, well, what does that mean? And you see this in television probably more so than you do even in radio, unless you've been buying radio, I suppose. But you've got these numbers and it does seem a little arbitrary, or at least a number that's like not really tangible.
You're exactly right. And that's a challenge for that industry. And that's the game changer, is that by radio stations being able to provide their customers with some data that is tied to digital, which shows the results that radio and digital together are providing.
Right. Yeah. So it's very similar with our agency kind of approach and what we do with clients as well. So we can show them, we have increased traffic to your website by X. We can show you exactly, hey, in April when you started with us, we did this. And now in June, you're seeing traffic like this coming to your site. We see the number of clicks back then compared to the number of clicks today. So you can see exact kind of data that really shows whether the effort is being returned appropriately. And so that's essentially what you're able to do with your broadcasters.
Right. Radio is a great business, and it really does give a great return on investment. And one of the challenges if you're a broadcaster is showing your customers that you are getting them a great return, because of that antiquated rating system. And we're providing solutions that allows them to help their local customers see just that return on investment.
Right. So when you say you're providing that solution, what exactly is the solution then? What are you doing for the broadcasters?
Well, we are focused on the broadcasters not in the top 10 broadcasting groups. The top 10 broadcasting groups in America.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah.
What's one or two of those broadcasting groups?
iHeart Media is the largest, and they have 850 radio stations in America. Entercom or Cumulus is number 2 or 3. Urban One is also large. Beasley Media.
Okay.
But those folks, as I mentioned, as did iHeart a number of years ago, they figured it out, and they've either have their own in-house agency or they have a large programmatic agency that's doing a lot of these services for them.
Okay. When you're saying digital, which would be
what I mean by digital is a couple of things. A lot of local businesses either a lot of local businesses do digital on their own, and they don't really know what they're doing, or they spend too much money doing it, and they may not even like doing it, right? Right now, radio can only sell them radio airtime. But if they have the know-how to be able to put digital campaigns into effect for their broadcast client, take that off the broadcast client's plate, give them expertise, make more effective digital buys and marketing strategies, it's a win-win for them and their client. What we offer is the ability to buy a lot of digital media like paid search, like targeted display advertising, retargeting, geofencing, over-the-top media. We can provide that. The big players are using programmatic agencies, basically. What we offer the broadcaster is training of their sales staff in terms of how to present this and how to help their clients. We do all the back end. We do all of this for them. So if you're a smaller broadcaster and you can't afford to staff it with digital experts, that's what we are there to do for them.
That's actually a very interesting. So you're kind of combining both a consultancy to be able to come in, train sales staff to be able to sell the digital platform, as well as support that sales team, as well. Then you're also providing the services for what they're selling. So it's kind of the 1-2 punch. The more successful they are, the more of the services that you're going to provide. So I think that's great.
That's exactly what we're trying to do, or what we are doing. And the fact that what I think, even though there are larger programmatic agencies out there, I think what we provide is that know-how of the broadcast business and the broadcast sales end of things, how broadcasters generate revenue, how their sales teams operate, and give them insights into how they can operate more effectively.
I enjoy it for so many different reasons. One, I think it's a great business approach and strategy, but I really enjoy. So one of our last guests really kind of spoke about his past experience in his career that kind of led up to the opportunity that they're in now, and how it's essentially equipped them. And it's very similar to you then. So you've got, decades of broadcasting sales experience, and now you can leverage that in a different way that also helps to promote the sales and services of your new company.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the radio business. I know the radio business, and to me, the mission of fueling broadcasters' growth and making things better for broadcasters and their customers is exciting. I mean, it's something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to call you this, but not in so you're a rookie, we'll say, but not certainly in your business experience, but you're a rookie with this new business, right? So the business is a rookie.
New business.
Yes. Yeah. So you've got some big games in front of you, right? Some big challenges in the next year. What are some of those? What do you think those big uphill climbs are going to be? And how are you preparing for that?
Well, I came from an organization where I was, I was a region president. I had 250 people that I worked with, and you had a lot of help. So when you are a solo entrepreneur, actually I'm not a solo entrepreneur because I have a digital partner, and I will soon be hiring a third person, which will help greatly. But just doing everything on your own is always difficult. And then branding, nobody knows the name Broadcast Digital Growth Company yet, except for my friends in the broadcast business.
Right. How are you going to measure success? What does that look like for you? And how do you define for yourself personally, what is that success going to look like?
Well, success for me will be essentially getting great results for my customers, because if I get great results for my customers, they're going to stay with me forever. That's my goal. And it's a very deep well. There are 15,500 commercial radio stations in America, and the top 5 groups own 2,000 of those stations. So there's 13,500 sort of target stations that we have, and those are some of them are fairly large companies, but some of them are very small single owners. And I think it's exciting to help them grow. That's very exciting. Plus, I want to build a national company. And we can do that because our clientele will be from across the country.
Right. Yeah. Well, you certainly can, and especially in this day and age, you can have a national reach. I didn't realize that there were that many radio stations out there.
Yeah, there really are.
That's a big number. Very good. Well, Gary, do you know what time it is now?
And it's time for the seventh inning stretch.
There we go. So, Gary, you like baseball?
Love baseball.
Love baseball. All right. So here's the baseball question here for the seventh inning stretch. What are your top 3 favorite ballparks that you've attended games?
Wrigley Field.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, Wrigley Field.
Now, as a Cubs fan, you just sealed me right there. So, okay.
I really love Progressive Field. I think it's a great place to watch baseball. Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I went to, it was AT&T Park. What's the San Francisco Park? They just changed the name.
Oh, I don't know what they've just changed the name to.
Yeah, they did. But
that is
absolutely, that's probably that is definitely the most beautiful park.
Yeah, that is a gorgeous park. Yeah. I would have to say as well, not that you're asking me, but I would rank Wrigley because it's just a great experience. I do love going to the games at Progressive as well. And another local great little park is PNC Park over in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
That is a great, you just feel very intimate right on the field as well. I love going to games. I loved going to watch my Cubbies play over there at PNC.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get back to it. Thanks for playing the seventh inning stretch with us. So you've started broadcast digital growth at a later stage in your life, right? I mean, you've got decades of business experience. So the people come to you and like, Gary, what are you thinking? Right? And why? Similar to our last guest, he was 61. I know you're not that old, but and starting his new business. Right. And when people are thinking, hey, you should be thinking about some other, slowing down or doing something else. But tell us about, I guess, that process and why, and what's been the reaction of those people kind of close to you in regards to it.
I think most of them think I'm crazy, to be honest with you. I mean, it's when you start your own business, there's a lot of risk involved. Fortunately, I have a lot of great family, and I have great friends that are very supportive. I worked in a very large corporate environment, and I had always dreamed of having my own little office and doing what I wanted to do. It's kind of ideal. My commute now is about 7 minutes, and I don't ever get on a freeway to get from my house to my office.
Nice.
And that beats I-480 in the Cleveland area.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying that. I've always wanted to do that. And there's a lot of people think I'm crazy, but I am absolutely goal-oriented person, and I know that this company is offers a tremendous service for the people I really, I'm a radio guy. I like radio people.
Right. People say, hey, it's risky. You see the risk. It's going to be a lot of work as well. You have the challenges. So why do it? Why keep pressing on? Have you always had that entrepreneurial itch that you wanted to create something yourself and serve and have a product out there and be in control? I mean, what is it that's kind of pushing you?
Yeah, I have. There's a lot I want to do. And I think owning your own business gives you tremendous freedom, and really the sky's the limit in terms of success, in terms of how much you can grow that business. And I enjoy it. I'm far from ready to retire. So
as a marketing company, I'll say that kind of loosely. I'm not sure if that's how you describe what it is that you do, but how do you then attract clients? What is going to be your strategy from marketing broadcast digital growth company?
Well, I know a lot of broadcasters across the country. I mean, having worked at iHeart, and it was Clear Channel previous to being iHeart. So I was with that company for 18 years, and I was in the radio business for over 30. So I know broadcasters across the country. I have friends across the country. So I know how they think, and of course, the first thing that you need to do when you're gaining new business is get referrals, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of people that would give me good referrals because of my background, and hopefully my integrity and things that I can offer. So obviously warm leads and referrals are where I'll be going. And in terms of marketing the company, of course, you use social media. We have a website, broadcastdigitalgrowth.com. We are actively marketing on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So really good advice and good strategies, I think, for other small business owners when they're thinking about, okay, how do we get in touch? How do we connect with clients and customers? So you do have an office. You don't necessarily, people aren't going to come walking into your door, hey, you're here, right? You don't have a neon sign sitting out there. But I think those are some good strategies. You're going to connect with those people that you've built relationships and networks with over the years and present to them, hey, this is what we can do for you. This is how we can help you grow.
Right.
It's a great presentation, I think.
Well, thank you. And earlier when we talked about being a rookie, yes, it is a new business, but I guess what I hang my hat on is I've done this, and I've done this for a broadcast company. So I had a large sales team that made that transition into doing the things that we need to do, that we're doing as a company, which is providing digital expertise to their clients.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that there are people out there in the broadcast world, maybe some of these independent owned radio stations, probably people who've been in radio for a long time as well. How would you approach these folks about, this particular kind of service that you can provide for them? And I'm saying is that, maybe their approach is a little like old school. We're just going to keep hammering, selling spots or commercials on air, and that's going to be our revenue stream.
Well, it's universal in the broadcast business that they have a real revenue challenge if they stay with their old model of just selling commercial airtime. Someone once said, someone I know that was an executive in the broadcast business said, the worst thing that ever happened to the radio medium is the 30-year-old media buyer, or media planner, I should say. And what I mean by, or what this person meant by that,
meaning in the other companies, not at the radio station, but in the companies.
Yeah, media planners at the major agencies, right? So a 30-year-old media planner doesn't think radio is very sexy. A 30-year-old media planner may not spend as much time with traditional media as someone else might. So that has hurt radio. They're not getting as many dollars out of local and national corporations as they once did. Their budgets are much smaller. So growing that is a universal challenge. And in the largest markets, in the largest groups, their growth is coming from these digital offerings. It's not coming from, as we would say, commercial spot, local spot, national spot. In fact, in a lot of markets, I know a couple of the top 25 markets that last year in 2019, the market was up maybe 1% to 2%. When I say the market, I mean the radio revenue market. But their spot business was down 5%. Where they saw the growth was in their digital offerings, and most of that growth came from the top couple groups. The smaller companies in broadcasting that aren't offering that realize they must offer that, but they often don't have the financial wherewithal to hire their own staff.
So what you're able to provide then is that growth of their stations by expansion of services. So not replacing clearly their spot, but coming in. And it's a great strategy for, I think, any small business and thinking about where are growth opportunities for us. And you can either just further leverage kind of the niche or the customers that you're serving and just really try to embed in there and attract more. Or as well, you can begin to broaden the services that you're providing. And I think your approach then is that the way that it sounds is that you're going to the radio stations, the broadcasters, and saying, listen, I can help you expand the services that you're providing.
It's a brand new revenue stream for them. I mentioned the newspaper business earlier, but that's just an example. I mean, that was an enormous business, up and through the early 90s, I guess.
Right.
And they were the first ones in to realize, we better get into the digital game or we're going to be dead. And so if you look at, some of the larger companies like the Washington Post or the New York Times, a huge percentage of their revenue comes from their digital product. And they didn't have that. It's something they didn't have at all before. And so we're basically providing that to the radio industry.
What are your thoughts? And you've got, again, decades of experience in radio, in broadcast. What are your thoughts in regards to kind of the next steps for traditional media like that, whether it's broadcast or even print and or display is another, because I know you have some experience in that as well. Where do you think the next steps are? Is it going to continue to evolve to a more digital or a broader platform? Or
I think it's the first rule is of media. Media is two things. It's content and transmission. So it's what you provide and how you provide it. Content is king. So if you offer content that can't be found anywhere else, people will come to you. iHeart, I think they were very smart several years ago when they decided that they didn't care where they got the ears, the listeners. They didn't care if it came through a podcast, through a stream, or if it came through the FM radio in someone's car. And I think that all media companies kind of have to have that. They have to provide great content and attract people to their product, and then be flexible enough to provide it in different ways of transmission.
That's great advice. Great advice, I think, even beyond broadcasters. So, all right. So we're coming into the bottom of the ninth here, Gary. Amazing how this game goes much faster than a real baseball game. I'm going to ask you, because I think you're a very unique individual. You've got, this years of experience and success in your career thus far, plus you're starting out in a new business venture. What advice do you have for other, I'll say, rookies kind of stepping into the game, stepping into the box and taking their swing at the bat?
I think that it's realize that it's going to take time to build your business, realize the importance of sales, how to get leads coming in, how to get referrals and leads, both how to make warm calls and how to make cold calls. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a lot of tenacity. It means never give up. Just keep going towards your goal. Good.
Great advice. All right. So how do people get in touch with you? They want to get on board. How do they do it?
Gary at broadcastdigitalgrowth.com. And thank you for having me, Randy.
Absolutely. Hey, we love having you on board. And thanks for stepping in today. Interesting. Wish you the best of luck. And
thanks.
All right. That's the ball game. Running the Bases with Small Businesses is brought to you by 38 Digital Market, a digital marketing agency committed to client growth with lead generation, higher conversions, and increased sales. Connect with us today at 38digitalmarket.com.